having been sick for years and years, trying to fight for proper health care for years and years, and I mean decades, there's things that you learn along the way, helpful tips and stuff, especially if you're being misdiagnosed, or they're unable to diagnose you for years and years, and you feel like your chain is being yanked and you're being gaslighted. Here's something that I learned through trial and error. There are lots of times that doctors are unwilling to give you information, helpful information, because they think that you might push for a referral that they don't want to give you, or that you might start pushing for treatment that you're not sick enough for, or that they don't think that you need. So, for example, years ago, I was really suffering from something, and a doctor that I had withheld from me that we have this specialized, that we have this special diagnostic thing at the hospital. She withheld that information from me deliberately because she thought that I would start pushing for a referral. Had I had that information, had she given me that information, I would have gone to another doctor and pushed for an urgent referral, and I would have gotten help 15, 20 years ago. But no, she withheld that information, pretended that she didn't know, and I suffered for another 10, 15 years, suffered like a dog until I finally found out the information that I needed, went and pushed for a referral, and finally got diagnosed. In fact, there's another doctor along the way. See, doctors are put in the position where they're gatekeeping, right? They're gatekeeping resources that cost money. They're gatekeeping referrals to specialists who are doing expensive tests, and they're determining whether or not you may need that or whatever, when in fact they might be wrong. And during this course of fighting for help, I actually had one doctor who said, yep, he told me he made a rush referral, and I sat there and waited day by day, just hanging by a thread. And then almost 2 months later, I called him repeatedly. He finally said right to my face, I lied to you. I didn't think you needed it. I had to run out, find another family doctor, push hard for a referral, finally got in. Actually, I got a referral, an urgent referral, to the specialist, and the specialist didn't believe what was happening, so I had to wait another handful of months, literally hanging by the thread. Finally got diagnosed, and all of them were wrong for years. And this is a tragic thing that can happen when they're gatekeeping resources. And I understand the need to gatekeep, because some stuff is really expensive. I understand that. But what happens when all of them are wrong? Now, here's another thing. Gatekeeping in the sense that they don't think anything, that they think you're going to push for something that you're not ready for, blah, blah, blah. So I saw a specialist the other day, and I'm asking, really important, relevant questions, and he's not wanting to answer. So I'm rephrasing the way I'm asking him questions to try to make him answer my question. No, that didn't work. I rephrased it again, and he said, he's standing there, he didn't want to answer, and he said, yeah, but you're not bad enough that you need surgery. I said, I know that. I'm not asking for surgery. But I'm worried that this is going to get to the point that I can't walk. Like, I went for a walk the other day and I barely made it home. And they'll gatekeep in a way that they don't want to give you a referral because they don't think you're sick enough, or they think that you're going to push for surgery that is way too risky and you're nowhere near the point that you need surgery. But this is your body, your life. If you're getting sick enough, if you're having, serious issues that are going to seriously disable you in the future, you need to have some general idea of that and you start thinking ahead of time about downsizing and changing. If you can't do stairs anymore, if you're not going to be able to walk, you have to start thinking ahead rather than things get so bad. And that issue always was there, but doctors didn't feel like telling you because they were gatekeeping and they just didn't think that you needed to know that you've got this disease process happening. And, it's bizarre. Another disease that my former family doctor years ago actually assessed me for this disease. And when he was doing it, I didn't understand what he was doing. And he looked more and more dismayed. And then I find out years later, he knew I had this disease, but he didn't feel like telling me. There's another thought process that doctors do. If you have a disease, there are certain diseases that they think, well, I can't do anything for you anyways, so why bother telling you? Well, there's lots of reasons to tell a patient the diseases that they have, including, like I just mentioned before, if you're going to have to modify your life because you're getting ill, or how to protect yourself, with medications and surgeries, because this disease, you can get injured. You can get injured, whereas healthy people without this disease are not going to be injured from medications or surgeries like I could be. So no, he didn't tell me, and I continued to receive injuries that really could have been prevented had I known that I had this disease. I could have protected myself and warned specialists ahead of time that, hey, this is the disease I have. Do you know anything about it? And we have to be cautious with this treatment or surgery, right? So just I thought I'd put this information out there, that there are various thought processes why doctors decide not to tell you diseases you have or give you helpful information when you're asking very direct questions about your health, and they're deliberately withholding information or withholding resources in your city.